The streets of Ouagadougou bustled with their usual rhythm that morning. Vendors shouted over each other to sell mangoes and roasted peanuts, taxis honked, and children chased each other barefoot along the dusty road. It was life as ordinary as it could be in a city that had grown used to sudden shocks. But in the middle of that ordinary day, a scene unfolded that would stay etched in the memory of those who witnessed it. On the corner, near a cracked stone wall where the market opened to the street, an old man sat slumped on the ground. His clothes were torn beyond repair, his sandals little more than strips of leather tied together. His hands trembled as he held out a tin cup, hoping for a coin or a piece of bread. Most people passed him without looking. Some turned their heads, embarrassed. A few whispered cruel jokes. One young man laughed out loud, pointing at the man's patched trousers. Another muttered, "Go hide yourself, old fool." And slowly, like sparks catching in dry grass, others joined in, chuckling, mocking. The old man pulled his knees to his chest, staring at the ground. Then the sound of engines filled the street. A convoy approached black SUVs and armored vehicles rolling steadily, flags on their hoods flapping in the hot wind. Heads turned. Whispers spread like a wave. "It's him, the captain, Traoré." As the convoy slowed near the market, children ran alongside, waving. Vendors lifted their heads, proud to see their leader pass. But Ibrahim Traoré, sitting in the lead vehicle, wasn't looking ahead. His eyes had caught something at the corner of the road. The laughter, the pointing fingers, the old man shrinking smaller under their gaze. "Stop the car," Traoré said. The driver glanced at him in surprise, but obeyed, easing the vehicle to a halt. Doors opened. Soldiers scanned the street, tense and alert, expecting some threat. But Ibrahim stepped down calmly, his boots striking the dust, his green beret casting a shadow over his eyes. The street froze. Whispers rippled. "What is he doing? Why is he stopping here?" All eyes followed him as he crossed the market, not toward a shop, not toward a politician, but straight to the crumbling wall where the old man Saturday. The laughter died instantly. Traoré knelt. The old man flinched, not believing what he was seeing. Ibrahim's voice was low, almost gentle. "What is your name, father?" The man blinked, his lips trembling. "Amadou," he whispered. Ibrahim nodded. Without another word, he straightened, slipped off his jacket, and placed it over Amadou's shoulders. The uniform jacket, a symbol of the highest office, of leadership, of authority, now rested on the shoulders of a man the crowd had just mocked. The market went silent. The laughter was gone. Men lowered their eyes in shame. Women covered their mouths, holding back tears. Traoré helped Amadou to his feet, steadying him. Then he turned slowly toward the people watching. His voice carried not anger, but weight. "You see an old man in rags," he said. "I see the years he gave to this land. I see hands that worked the fields so we could eat. I see a life of struggle, the kind many of you will never know." He let his words hang in the air. No one moved. No one dared speak. "Respect is not given to clothes," he continued. "Respect is given to dignity. If you laugh at him, you laugh at all of us. Because one day, you too may wear torn sandals. And who will stand for you?" The crowd shifted, shame written on their faces. Some lowered their heads. A young man who had laughed earlier wiped his eyes, unable to meet the captain's gaze. Traoré turned back to Amadou, taking the man's hand in his. "You are not forgotten, father. You carried this land when others turned away, and today Burkina Faso carries you." In that moment, what was supposed to be an ordinary morning became a lesson none would forget. The crowd stood silent, some weeping, others nodding slowly, as though the truth in his words had pierced through them. But while the street was quiet, somewhere else, in a distant office behind closed doors, men in suits watched the footage on screens. To them, this was not compassion. This was danger. Because a leader who could move hearts so deeply was not just a man, he was a movement. And movements are harder to kill. One of the men leaned forward, whispering in French, "We must find a way to silence him." before he becomes unstoppable. And so, even as the people of Ouagadougou remembered a morning of humanity, plans of betrayal and violence were already being drawn. The convoy lingered a few minutes longer at the market, Ibrahim standing tall with Amadou beside him. Supporters pressed forward, not to gawk, but to touch his hand, to bless him, to whisper their thanks. Some even apologized to the old man, ashamed of their laughter. The moment, captured on phones and whispered across stalls, began to spread like fire through dry grass. By evening, videos of Ibrahim placing his jacket on Amadou's shoulders had reached radios, televisions, and phones across Burkina Faso. The image of the nation's leader humbling himself before a forgotten elder was already becoming legend. Children spoke of it at dinner tables, mothers repeated it to their daughters, fathers to their sons. But in a quiet compound outside the city, another conversation was unfolding. Foreign agents sat in a dim-lit room, screens flickering with the same footage. Their faces were grim. "Do you see how they look at him?" one asked. "Like he is not a man, but a savior." Another slammed a fist on the table. "He must be stopped. Not tomorrow, not next month. Now." The plan had been ready for weeks, an ambush, carefully prepared, waiting for the right time. Tonight, the signal would be given. It was close to midnight when the convoy returned from a village visit. The roads were dark, only headlights cutting through the dust. Inside the lead vehicle, Ibrahim sat quietly, Amadou's tin cup resting on the seat beside him. He had taken it with him, a reminder of the lesson the city had learned that morning. Suddenly, the radio crackled. A soldier's urgent voice. "Suspicious movement ahead, North Road." Before the driver could respond, the night erupted. Gunfire split the silence, bright streaks tearing through the dark. Explosions roared as the first vehicle in the convoy was struck, flames lighting the roadside. Armed men emerged from the trees, faces covered, weapons foreign-made. Their target was clear. "Down! Protect the president!" the guards shouted. The convoy braked hard, soldiers spilling from vehicles, rifles barking into the night. The road became chaos, bullets whipping through the air, smoke rising, shouts echoing. Inside his vehicle, Ibrahim remained calm, though the air was thick with gunpowder. He looked at the burning wreck ahead, then at his men bracing themselves outside. "Open the door," he ordered. The guard hesitated. "Sir, it's not safe." I said, "Open it." The door swung wide, and Ibrahim stepped into the chaos. The green beret on his head caught the firelight, his silhouette unmistakable. He did not cower. He walked forward, straight into the storm of bullets. The attackers faltered. For a second, they hesitated. Was this man insane? He should have been hiding, crawling for cover. Instead, he stood tall, a defiance carved against the flames. "Burkina Faso does not kneel," his voice thundered. "If you want me, come face me, not my people." His words carried across the battlefield, echoing over the crack of rifles. Soldiers rallied, their spirits ignited. With renewed fury, they pushed back, their gunfire precise, their formation tight. The attackers, though trained, began to stumble. They had expected an easy strike, a captured leader dragged into the night. Instead, they were met with fire, loyalty, and a man who refused to bow. One of the mercenaries tried to advance, his AK raised. Ibrahim locked eyes with him, unflinching. Before the man could fire, a Burkinabe soldier dropped him with a single shot. The others wavered, suddenly unsure. The battle raged for 20 minutes, though it felt like hours. When the dust finally settled, bodies of the attackers lay scattered across the road. A few fled into the night, disappearing into the trees, their mission in ruins. Silence returned, broken only by the crackle of burning metal. The convoy, though battered, still stood, and at its center so did Ibrahim. By dawn, the news had spread again. First the jacket, now the ambush. 2 stories, 2 images, compassion in the morning, defiance in the night. Together, they told the world something larger than a single man. They told of a leader who could give dignity to a beggar and stand against bullets in the same day. Crowds poured into the streets as the sun rose, chanting his name, Traoré, Traoré. Some held torn clothes over their shoulders in solidarity with Amadou. Others carried sticks and banners declaring, Ouagadougou does not kneel. Foreign governments scrambled to deny involvement, their spokesmen sweating before cameras, their words hollow. But the people had seen too much. The old man's jacket, the ambush at night. The pattern was undeniable. The world might deny, but the people knew. That evening, Ibrahim spoke on national television. He wore a simple shirt, no uniform, no medals. In his hands, he held Amadou's tin cup. This cup, he said softly, belongs to a man many of you laughed at yesterday. But today, it belongs to us all, because it reminds us what respect means. And last night, they tried to take that respect away not from me, but from our nation. They failed. He looked directly into the camera, his voice steady, each word like a stone laid in the foundation of a wall. Remember this, they can attack us in the courts, on the roads, in the skies, but they cannot take what lives in here. He tapped his chest. Our dignity, our unity, our freedom. Across the country, people leaned closer to their screens, feeling the weight of every word. Some wept, some clenched their fists, all understood. And somewhere in that same Foreign Office, the men in suits watched in silence. One muttered almost to himself, every time we try to silence him, we make him stronger. That night, as Ibrahim stepped onto the palace balcony, he saw the streets below filled with thousands holding candles. At the front, standing proud despite his frailty, was Amadou, no longer mocked, no longer invisible, but embraced by the nation. The laughter of the crowd had turned into chants of pride, and the jacket draped over his shoulders had become more than fabric. It had become a symbol. The story would be told for years, the day they mocked an old man, the day a leader gave him his dignity, and the night bullets failed to take that leader away. Because in the end, it wasn't just about a jacket, it was about a promise that as long as Ibrahim Traoré stood, Burkina Faso would not kneel.